Merhaba, hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Litho'dayız'ın ikincisini gerçekleştiriyoruz. Dün sergimizin açılışıyla başladı bu süreç. Bugün sanatçı konuşmalara devam edecek. Welcome everyone. This talk will be in English, the first session, and at 6 there's going to be the Turkish session with the rest of our artists. I'll introduce myself. I am Naz Önen, the project coordinator of the Printstudio. This year we are working with 8 different artists for the Stones Coming from the Sea exhibition. We have Ela Atakan as our curator, Do as master printer, Furkan our studio assistant, and Sude and Fatih helped us with the documentation, so we're a small team. And this is the second year of Litho Days. We're like a small studio, 3 years old right now. In the first Litho Days, it was in 2021, and it was to celebrate Alois Senefelder's birthday, the inventor of lithography. So the first exhibition was set on his birthday, and the concept then was to celebrate his legacy and the lithography technique. We had 10 artists in the first edition, and during the exhibition, which was also here in Ka in the first year, we had some artist talks to share the insights of artists' experiences and how it was for them. So this year, as the second edition, we will continue to have artist talks to maybe open up the floor to discuss what was it like for them, and maybe if you have any questions, you can always feel free to ask our artists. And this year, separately from the first year, we had open studios. We just shared a video, maybe you saw it already. We had opened up the Printstudio to invite guests to show them the technique, how it's working, what's going on, and shared some sketches of their research processes. But today it will be more focused maybe to the collaboration processes, how we gather all together, and we already talked about each artist separately with their backgrounds, artistic motivations, but today will be more Litho related, I guess, I hope. So this is the first module, but I would like to maybe introduce our artists and maybe try to come up to how we get all together in this years. So we have Alessandro Rizzi from Italy. He's an artist using, I'll just briefly give some clues about their works, not to share the whole biography here, but Alessandro uses a tag. In his practice, he refers to the passage of time, and the tag he usually uses, it's a word from the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, which means know thyself. And Alessandro's work is the one on the very right, and you can see the tag also. We have Bartłomiej from Poland, from Krakow, and his working practice is based on lithography as well. He's created and works with different lithography machines, and he's from one of the oldest lithography studios in Poland, and he's also lecturing there in the fine arts faculty. But he uses lithography in different ways, in monolithography recently, and some collages, paper cutouts, merged into different versions of lithography using the shadows of the stone as well. Maybe he will mention that already. He will mention in the meantime. We have also Cora Texier from France, from Paris, and she's also a lithographer working. Bartolomeo's work is right next to Alessandro's work to introduce. And Cora Texier, she works with La Vie technique. La Vie is a special technique in which you can see in Cora's works with water and ink at the same time. And she's a graphic designer, but also experienced in the lithography printmaking, both in her own studio and in other collaborating studios. So yeah, to start with, this is our team now. Maybe I can just briefly summarize how we gathered together today. Well, we were creating the list of artists, and then maybe you can talk about it as well, but we were somewhat connected with the guest artists we have through the technique of lithography. So we've been aware of like Bartek's lithography practices. And with Cora, we met earlier in Paris and visited few studios there. And with Alessandro, though has been in some biennials, and the curator just referred to work with it. With our guest European artists, we were focused on the technical aspects of them as well. And on the exterior, you can see some researches of Cora as well. So to start with, we can have a round table. I have a few questions, and you can just freely share them. The Cabinet de Curiosité over there, yesterday was here, it includes some researches, and they all refer to your works. So how was it, while you were planning to the exhibition, how was the research process for you? How did it go? How did you come to a final artwork? Like, how was the process for you, technically?
Well, thanks everybody for being here, first of all. Happy to introduce what I did through this project, because it's a chance to represent a way of thinking and a way of a perspective in some way. What I'm used to do in the field of art, because in this case you can see the artwork hand in front of me, and is related to the Cabinet de Curiosités, correct? Yes. The pronunciation, okay? Okay, and there's there a stone which I brought, which I thought it was the best way to be connected with the artwork which is here, because I'm used to have a kind of modus operandi, a way to think about re-elaborating information and re-elaborating and representing through any kind of medium. For me, a key element is in some way the stratification, and in some way here you can see a kind of, I like to say, a chronolandscape, which is, I think, a colorful way to read it, to read what I did here at the studio for the artist residency. Different layers, starting from the first one from the background and the microscope layer. It tells a story which is starting from the stone directly, and is passing through the mosaics of the Roman Empire, and is coming today in what I'm doing in the graffiti and street art field. So again, I think that the way I thought it was useful to re-elaborate my idea of the art proposal for the Printstudio project and Litho days, it was about a relation with the stone, but also with the time, and is a kind of window where you can see different aspects and different period of times. It's a kind of conversation with time. I think it's enough, probably.
I think so, yeah. Stratification, and in your work we know that there are layers on top of each other, and it has like a time capsule from the very origin of the stone towards ancient times and towards the type today until today. So this is a window to look through back in time. So I think it's all merged very well in that sense.
I hope.
Maybe how was the research or like background of the project, or like the planning? Maybe once you were here, we can talk about that also.
Okay, thank you for invitation to the project, and thank you for coming. For me, the working here in the Printstudio was first time since 2 years that I made original lithography. Because in my own research I turned somehow, after many years of making lithography, I teach in Academy of Fine Art. I run lithography studio there, and in my own research I somehow turn from original way of making lithography and start my own research in monolithography field. I start to creating litho collage, unique art pieces based on lithography, but like out of field of original lithography. So it was challenging for me because in one hand I work with lithography for a long time, and in another hand I stops or make a pause of making classic lithography with addition and like classic. So I was trying to plan it somehow, but in general in my art I'm trying to not plan. I'm going with my instinct, the expression of hand is so. For me, I'm thinking about big work as a sketch, but in the big scale. I didn't design the layers one after another. We just like go with the flow. We make few tests. I bring my tools from Krakow, but the size of the stone and the size of the tool was like didn't fit to each other. So I somehow cut my brush, and you can see this modified tool in this cabinet. First layer was like first, I can say, step, and after first layer we decide what to do next. And these 4 layers actually till the end we didn't knew if it's finished, yes or no, if we want to print something more. So it was like really kind of freestyle lithography compared to what I did normally.
Maybe I should also mention that the research process continues with each artist in the studio as well. There's some practice, and like if it's first time someone doing lithography, we do some experiments on the stone to get to know the materials, the aspects, the possibilities of it. And sometimes in the making of it, we make some selections, we can cancel some layers also. It happened the same way with Cora and Bartek, because you have been doing some different sketches.
Yeah, maybe what the thing that I would like to add is that lithography, it's a little bit like cooking. You can have your own way of creating images, and in Poland we did it in many aspects in different ways. So it was also really inspiring for me, but also challenging that I'm kind of professional in lithography, but I learned so many new things that I didn't.
My second question, I will come back
Okay.
to this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so Cora, how was it, the research process for you? And maybe to mention also, again, the exterior area, we have some reference to the La Vie technique and in relation to Cora's research and background. Because if there are any one of you who remembers the first Litho days, I think not many of you were here the first year, but this area again was installed with Olivia Christen, another master printer from Germany. She was here, and this area was also been used to refer to the minds and the origin of technique. So this has a good relation in between the two Litho days, or the ones you know the first year, but we'll go back to that later.
Merhaba. Je vais parler en français parce que mon anglais n'est pas suffisamment avancé pour pouvoir m'exprimer correctement. Dans mon travail en général, je fais beaucoup de recherches peut-être des formations professionnelles par rapport à mon métier antérieur de graphiste. Et j'ai pour habitude de faire beaucoup de carnets, d'écrire beaucoup de choses pour avancer en fait et pour pouvoir mettre en ordre dans ma tête avant de pouvoir commencer réellement à faire une recherche d'abord sur le papier puis ensuite sur la pierre. J'ai pour habitude de beaucoup marcher. C'est vraiment quelque chose qui fait partie de mon processus. Et j'ai besoin en fait d'être dans la nature parce que mon travail est vraiment en relation avec ça. Je me sers de ce que la nature veut bien nous donner pour m'inspirer. Ça c'est une première chose. Ensuite, dans le processus de la lithographie, j'ai vraiment pour habitude de commencer d'abord par un petit croquis et ensuite de le mettre à taille réelle, de faire un deuxième croquis un peu plus élaboré à taille réelle et ensuite en notant en fait les différentes techniques que je veux utiliser, que ce soit du crayon, du lavis, de la plume, les différentes nuances de gris que je veux utiliser. Et une fois que j'ai fait cette carte comme une topographie,
Je peux proposer là-bas pour traduire un peu. Ça marche?
Ouais.
D'accord. I will translate in English with an I language. My works have a lot of research in the making of it, and in my profession I have to do a lot of research because I come from a graphic background, and it's like my habit to make a bunch of researches and the making of it. So I wrote a lot of notes. I want to put everything in an order, and then I continue with my research. So I want to see things on paper first, and then I move them to the stone. I like walking around in the nature, so I get a lot of inspiration from the nature and natural elements. So it gives me the inspiration, and in my processes I have a little sketches of what I'm going to do. So I sketch things in small pieces, and then I put them in the real sizes to follow up. And I just tried the different techniques and different materials or different gray tones, different tones in the paper. I want to see them in sketches, and then I move them in the real life. So to add something in there, I think in many artist residencies we have this sketching up process. We begin with, in Cora's open studio, we were exhibiting a lot of small notebooks she created with some photos, references, text to refer. So many artists work with sketches like that, and like Alessandra had his own notes. You work differently. But Ahmed, when he was here, maybe in the next session we'll mention that, but he tried small stones first, and then the real stones were prepared later to see the possibilities of technique. So it's a good way to sketch and then move to the real life. This is my personal conclusion. Okay. Continue.
Et je voudrais ajouter que le fait d'avoir travaillé avec d'eau a été en fait assez différent de ce que je pratique habituellement, puisque
c'est ma troisième question.
Ok. Donc je m'arrête là alors.
D'accord.
Okay.
Excuse me. I have two questions coming up just to surprise you guys. I'll start with the first one, and I'll include the third one to keep an eye on it. So how different was it than your previous experiences in your own lithography or printmaking experience? Because I know Alessandra has some etching gravure background, and both Cora and Bartek has been experienced in lithography. But as you already said, it's like a cuisine, and every cuisine is a different spices, different cooking ways, and even in the same kitchen we have the Printstudio. The temperature even affects a bunch of things. So it's a sensitive kitchen who gets affected by many things. So how was it like you to like in comparison to your previous experiences working in dough print? Third question, just to keep an eye on it, it's how would collaboration with the print makers, but it's the last question, so please go on.
I think I can answer both questions in one time. Working with Dough was amazing, and also Furkan, they are working like a lithography factory. And I used to work with my students, and it was for me, it was first time working with a master printer. Normally I paint my lithographies by myself, and I make like small editions, 5 to 10 prints per edition. It's for me it's like normally when I made lithography, because now I'm working mostly in litho collage, which are unique works, so no edition. Could you the first question?
In comparison, like not to compare, but keeping in mind that you have another technique and another type of kitchen in there back in Poland.
Yeah, so first, and I think the biggest difference is that here your guys, Dough and Furkan, are really focused on every detail of technology, lithography process. I didn't even knew that you can manipulate with some small details to get different effects, or maybe the same prints, like every edition is exactly the same print. When I print with my students, is the biggest problem for them to learn how to control every print in the edition. The same amount of ink, same amount of water, the humidity of the paper, the setting registration, the setting paper on the stone. Here you have strict systems for this, and it works perfectly. In Poland, maybe during the process we are focused more on this creativity, the creative way of thinking, maybe color version, maybe some experiments even during printing, and here it works really in professional way to create edition, which is like perfect.
I think it's always to add. It's always like two-way round. You know, when two kitchens meet, there's two chefs to learn from each other. So I think maybe Dough, if he wants to, at the end, add some. No, he doesn't. Okay. So yeah, it's you. As far as I witness in the studio, there are different techniques of putting the paper on the stone, and different techniques of making them straight with some stones on top. So this is
even different
new.
technique of etching actually. You count the drop. We just make small sip or two. It's funny differences because and in both studios it works. So yeah, this is kind of magic of lithography, that everyone can create it if you understand how techniques works, you can like create your own paths to find the effect that you're searching for.
Well, from my point of view, considering your backgrounds, both of you, so of course it's better to think and communicate in a quality sense with what I perceived and what I met here. I mean, in a kind of overview of atmosphere, which I found. I mean, I felt since the beginning when I was here with Do, which was showing me different ways to figure out the first layer for the microscope one, because it was quite tricky to find a way to reproduce it, not only for the analytical aspects of the technique and the reproduction, but also in a meaning sense from my point of view. So it means it was difficult to do since the beginning the first layer, but I want to give you an idea of what I felt was like playing serious stuff. So it means a unique combination between playing, because you must play, you have to play, and like a kind of, you can say in an analogy sense, not only a kitchen but also a laboratory, because you are going adding some variables to see if it works or not, coming back, but in a serious sense. So you have to be methodic. So without it, so you can lose yourself easily. And happy to be here with this result, thanks to Do, because again, the idea of developing all this project was like serious stuff, and the technique is really important, but on the same time it's really important on the same wage playing. Because if you do not play each time and trying to imagine what you want in a freedom sense, you are stuck in the middle. So you have to balance these two things. And of course it's nice, you enjoy, but you have to pay attention every time, as Bartolomé told before, about the all little aspects. Each one counts, so since the beginning, from A to Z. So this is really important, and I think that in some way you can perceive it in each artwork, each print that you can see here around of all the artists. This meticulous way, methodical way, re-elaborated through creativity, is this kind of balance.
Thank you. I think your conceptualization of lab is really like true, because I think the cuisine, it just gives you the idea of taste, like it's personal, it's subjective, but lab is more strict rules, dangerous, we have strict nitric acid, dangers going on, and because of Do as a master printer, he just wants to be so sharp on everything, so it's pretty much like a lab, we can also say that. And to give an overall idea, maybe our...
Un petit peu aussi ma manière de travailler. Je pense que c'est extrêmement intéressant de pouvoir croiser les savoirs, pour pouvoir enrichir en fait ce qu'on peut donner aux artistes avec cette technique.
Okay. In comparison to the French way of doing lithography, no, pardon, tak, kocham cię to because I am in the position of the printmaker and the artist here in the Printstudio, it was an advantage, because I was doing some things as normally Do does, and I was also like supporting the process. I was feeling more free in that sense, but in comparison to the lithography doing in France, I'm somewhere in between what Bartek said, because sometimes the measurements and details can actually go differently, but we're just caring too much about the drops and everything. I found myself Cora finds herself in between the two traditions of doing it, but this sharing of experience, it's like it just supports the work, because it's just like exchange of knowledge, and it is like it will help Cora when she gets back and work with artists. The knowledge shared in between two master printers will be carried in her way of doing things. My brain stopped for a second, so oui, ça va.
Qu'est-ce que je peux ajouter par rapport à ta question?
What I was trying to say. Alessandro said that like there's this serious things going on, but the artist wants to play also. I think there's this tension, I believe always, not maybe everyone is different and unique, but there's the serious part going on from the master printer side, because things have to be printed and finalized. And yeah, and artists are here to play and experiment with the techniques. So there's always, I feel like there's tension to bring two ideas together on the same stone and to come up to an artwork in the end. So I think maybe my perspective on that. So would you like to add to that maybe? How was it to, find a balance between what you have in mind and the master printer? Technically, how did it go?
Well, personally, I was honestly scared when I came here, because, in an anthropological way, I think that you can be really scared about something that you don't know about, of course. So it means that coming here for me was like, of course, an adventure in a pure and good sense, but also a way to growing through another project, a project where I was able to learn a technique, or trying to find a way to express myself through a technique. But I think that it's been really the opposite, the idea of being scared, because it was like an illusion coming here and being scared, because from the artist point of view, I realized I was, as Cora said before, in the perfect condition, because of course I have to pay attention about what I'm doing or what I'm developing or what I'm imagining, but in a really useful conversation with the master printer, I was able to and sharing a middle point. So from 1 minute to another, it disappeared, this idea of being scared, and it appeared an idea of playing again, but in a very genuine sense, because I was trying to keep methodically my layers through the techniques and the experience of Do, but at the same time trying to go on with my creativity and my best way to express the art proposal which I am exhibiting here. To conclude this idea of this balancing and laboratory, I think that it's also a challenge, we can say, because if you think on the one hand what I said about being scared or illusion or etc., but on the other hand trying to be focused on, so it's a challenge, but a beautiful challenge, So that's it.
Bon, peut-être tu peux commencer si ça t'ennuie pas. Parce que you want to...
Maybe we can
You want to
Yeah.
start?
Okay, but
Yeah,
could you repeat the
like
question?
I've always witnessed the studio environment like attention. I mean, since you two are also have this head of a master printer, it's not the same with someone who enters the studio for the first time to do litho. But again, there's a collective process going between one master printer to an artist, like two art master printers. It doesn't matter. How do you come to a common ground? How was like the collaboration process for you to manage within the studio through the process? If you need to add anything.
Actually, I came to Ankara with different idea for my graphics. I thought that I will prepare mono print from Ghost in the Shell series that we was talking about with Ella during our conversation to prepare the project in conceptual way. But here, after a conversation with Doe, we realized that we need to print edition, and my way of making this mono prints, I cannot print edition. It's like unique pieces because of technological solutions that I use and because of my experiments on the surface of the stone. So first challenge was to somehow translate my way of making this unique lithography pieces to like separate it for layers and find the way to create a pattern that you can print a whole edition. So it was, like I said before, it was first time since 2 years or even 3 years that I didn't make original lithography, and I make like big, how to say, progress maybe in my art language, but out of technique of traditional lithography. So it was like coming back to lithography with new like experience, new perspective. And we was talking with Doe for many hours how to find this way to translate my I can say style or my language to lithography. It was most, I think, challenging.
En fait, tu as un peu répété ce que j'ai déjà dit tout à l'heure, oui. Mais c'est principalement un échange très confortable dans voilà, le fait de n'avoir qu'à penser à la création et finalement pas réellement à la technique puisque Do a pris cette place. Et en même temps, je ne pouvais pas m'empêcher de pouvoir aussi me mettre à cette place d'imprimeur, puisque c'est aussi mon travail de tous les jours. Donc il y avait quelque chose d'un peu schizophrène, d'être à la fois l'artiste et l'imprimeur, et en même temps savoir laisser la place à Do, parce parce que c'était aussi une expérience de pouvoir, extrêmement enrichissante, de pouvoir voir quelqu'un réaliser les impressions que vous faites habituellement tout seul. Et je dois dire que il maîtrise ça à la perfection. Et voilà, c'est extrêmement... c'est touchant de le voir travailler en fait. Il y a quelque chose il est extrêmement concentré, extrêmement rigoureux et il a une gestuelle presque comme une danse. Et ça, moi, j'ai pu le voir parce que du coup, j'étais regardeur et cette danse est très belle.
It's a little repetition, but I should say that this exchange is really comfortable. And if you think of the creation of it, and sometimes you're in my position, you're in the schizophrenic way of being both the artist and the master printer of it. But I understand those place in it, and this is actually feels really good because I can see this whole experience from outside, and I can see how it's getting real, how it's realized. And normally he does that alone, but we do it all together ensemble. And this is good to see this. But he's like very concentrated, and it's a good chance. Like he has a gesture, it's like a dance, and I actually like the dance when I look it from the outside. Okay. Merci beaucoup. One last question, just I have, but if you have any questions, we can add them also. To summarize this process, like how was it when you were before? Because you just totally jumped into a project without having any clues what's gonna happen, what is going on, who's these people, and then you just took the risk, come all the way here, spend 2 weeks, and how was, like, you had the open studio visitors coming, like exhibiting. How was the overall residency process? Did it match your expectations? And like considering everything today, yesterday, the opening, how did it work throughout the whole process? And any questions, any suggestions for future maybe for us, if you have? That's my final question.
It's fine. Yeah, it's a good question because it invites me in some way to. I don't want to repeat in some way what I said before about illusion and what I was thinking about and what I realized when I was here for the artist residency. But I want to describe a little bit more or briefly what I found here. Maybe you and all the others which I met during this artist residency know that it's been a super, it's been a really good adventure, but also a big surprise. Feeling in we can say a kind of little island, because I can think about all the people which I met during the path. Starting from, of course, the master printer and the assistant and all the crew, we can say, of the project, but also on the second ring, we can say the all fertile ground of the artist which I met during these days. It was really an adding value of the artist residency, and I'm not joking because this could be seen like a typical way to say to everybody thank you, but it's really an added value. If you consider how, for example, somebody can come to the studio during the evening time and going around and see what you are doing, just only with the eyes you can see if there's something wrong, and having just little inputs, sharing them. So the conversation is getting bigger about your project. So these are all little or invisible tools and instruments that you are going to re-elaborate and digest. And at the end, I think it's been a great adventure. because was the opposite, as I said before, of being scared. So it means I felt like really comfortable in the studio and in the city and part of the project. And but paradoxically, it's really a big surprise to see everybody here and all the artworks like this, because it's really unexpected what I found. So it's a double contrast, we can say. And that's it.
J'ai réfléchi en fait à cette question hier soir, mais pas sans savoir que Naz allait la poser. C'est comme une grande famille en fait. Quelque chose de naturel avec... je dirais pas que c'est un microcosme, c'est juste des gens qui arrivent à se parler. On s'est rencontrés, on a échangé naturellement, presque comme si on se connaissait déjà. Quelque chose de très agréable en fait, vraiment. Tous les artistes avec lesquels j'ai échangé, et pas forcément que les artistes d'ailleurs, parce que finalement il y a des petites habitudes qui se créent. Là je suis restée donc 2 semaines, et voilà, le midi j'allais dans un petit restaurant, et je commençais à discuter avec la serveuse et avec le cuisinier, et voilà, il y a quelque chose d'extrêmement sympathique et ouvert, même si il y avait la barrière de la langue, puisque je ne parle pas anglais ni turc, mais pour autant la langue n'a pas posé problème, et ça je dois dire que c'est quand même aussi très agréable.
I was thinking about this question yesterday in my mind, but I didn't know Naz was gonna ask it. But without knowing, I was planning on it. This feels like a big family here. It's like a natural microcosm, and this is there's a group of people who feels like they know each other for so long, and there are people who gather together to talk about things, to share ideas, share discussions, and I think this is really preferable. And all the artists I've met here, including the artists in the exhibition and others, they were all feeling so super good to make those exchanges with. And it's like we talk like cuisine. It's like you just go on to a restaurant to have a chat, and you talk with the server, you talk with others. It's like this exchanges, and there's something really sympathical going on. And this, despite all the language barrier, because I'm not speaking freely in English or Turkish, but it was never a problem overall process since the 2 weeks I was here. So this is also very nice to me. Okay.
For me, it was super interesting because I knew that I'm coming for making lithography, so it's field that I feel quite well in. But it was, of course, I didn't know what to expect. I was, of course, a little bit scared, but after 5 minutes or 15 minutes on the way from the airport, we started talking with Do about lithography, with Naz, of course, and we find the language, and it was language about lithography, and we talk for 2 weeks almost only about lithography, about solutions, about our way of thinking, about the process, but also the idea and philosophy which is behind the technology. So it was super interesting 2 weeks of except of course working. It was like 2 weeks of conversations about lithography, which was extremely valuable and interesting. And another thing is that for even 1 second I didn't feel like a tourist here. Your door to your studio is open so wide, and people are coming, and I felt like part of this art society for 2 weeks. It was really really nice feeling. I was thinking about to maybe jump for a couple of days to visit something around, and I decided to stay because this journey was about something else, not about like tourism, about to feel this art society, and this networking and these conversations and dinners, etc. It was really good time, and for me personally, this added value is that it's solutions that I will use in university in Krakow, because here was printed in totally silent or just talking about the technique, super focused for many hours. In my studio in Krakow, there is like 5 press machines and 5 students are working in the same time, and I just need to jump from one to another. So this solution that I learn here will help me in my work in the university for sure, and also in my own art. That's for sure. So it was amazing time.
I'll just add one comment from my own perspective. We're gonna have a panel on printmaking culture, as we did in the first edition. And last week we were planning with the panelists what will be the focus points that we discuss in the panel. So one of our participants, she's also a printmaker, a graver etching printmaker. She's like very close. She will go to Copenhagen and she will visit all the studios. She will learn what's happening in there and come back to talk about it. So it was the same last summer when we were in Paris with Do, visiting all the lithography studios. This is how we met Cora in person. So I think the community is like so supportive and helpful of each other. We also didn't feel like tourists because of like sharing some common motivation or inspiration towards this. So I think this connects us in a different way, and we can share this as a common ground. So it feels really welcoming and supportive. So it's something beyond borders. So personally, I would like to thank you to come and have this residency with us. And if you have any questions, you can ask.
Maybe just only 1 second, not a question, but to add just only one comment or some information that I think it's funny to think about in some way, because when we met together the first time, I mean via Zoom or these video calls, we were of course talking about, in a brief introduction, about ourselves, what we were trying to develop together. After that, I replied, okay, so I'm gonna do a sketch, I'm gonna share it with you, with Ella, because we started to do a useful conversation about how to create this artwork and sharing the ideas, etc., from my point of view, and sharing her about her mind. But the thing which is funny is like once I did the sketch, I sent them, and we were having another meeting together, and there was Do with a serious eyes, like serious face like this, like no. There's something that is I don't know if it works, but I was not really aware, able to understand the feasibility of lithography. Like, yeah, why not? This is my idea. And he was looking at me, or like, I think it's better to understand when you are coming here what you are trying to do, because maybe there are some limits, or maybe we have to do something differently. At that certain point, it started my adventure. So it was funny to see it. Like,
Questions? Comments? Good. Do you agree with everything? Okay, thank you very much for the talk.
Merci à vous.
Merci à vous aussi.
thank you.
Merci.